when you dancing on Natu Natu made you one of the favorite ambassadors as far as Gen Z in India is concerned.
When we posted it, we said, who says Germany can't dance, and then the Prime Minister retweeted say, Germany can dance, he said,
We are going to do something on Greenland, whether they like it or not. If we don't do it, Russia or China will take over Greenland.
Yeah, but I mean, the Danish Prime Minister said NATO is dead if the US invades Greenland, and the NATO certainly has no ideas on what you do if NATO partners attack each other.
How much do you think Germany is acknowledging this aspirational India?
Every student who goes to Germany looks up the vast offer Germany has and then chooses and picks the appropriate university and doesn't fall for agents. The most important part of this, I would say right now, are the submarines.
How fast do you think the ink will be put on the contract?
It's very difficult to say. They are in the midst of negotiations. The Chancellor's visit brought certainly a very positive element to them.
Hello and welcome to this edition of The Curious Mic. I am Rahul Shrivastava. The global sands of diplomacy are shifting. The global order is losing its certainties, especially in a new storm called Donald Trump 2.0. One critical signal that alignments are changing, new relationships are emerging, was a visit by the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz to India. He was seen with Prime Minister Narendra Modi flying kites in Ahmedabad. The 75th year of Indo-German relationship, diplomatic ties, how crucial was this visit? What does it really mean for India and Germany and definitely the world? Who better to answer all the questions surrounding the visit and the future and past of Indo-German relationship? Ambassador Philipp Ackermann is with us. Welcome, Ambassador.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to have you with us. You've been here since 2022,
Exactly.
And before that you had a stint from 2007 to 2010 as the head of the political department of the German embassy.
That's correct.
Do you see a difference in the world and India since those times?
Well, you can say that again. I mean, starting with the world, it has changed profoundly since then. Not always to the better, I would say. But you have to live with the fact that we are exposed to. But when it comes to India, I think many things have changed for the better in this 15 years. And I must say I'm hugely impressed by the progress India has made on many, many levels. And that was also to be seen during the Chancellor's visit. Infrastructure, roads, airports, digitization. In these 15 years, India has made enormous headway, I would say.
You see, the Indo-German relationship was largely the bedrock used to be economics. This time around, in the last couple of years, one sees that there is a distinct shift. Defense strategy. What are the 5 top things in this Chancellor's visit, which you will say indicate things have changed, that the next stage as far as the relationship has arrived?
So first, I think, the leaders sit down and discuss geopolitics. Now that, as the Chancellor has put it, doesn't mean that we agree on every level and on every question, but there is a general understanding that in the principal lines, Germany and India are very similar when it comes to the approach to the world. So that's, geopolitics is much higher on the agenda than it used to be for obvious reasons. For when you look at the world, you know why. Second, I think business is still a very, very important pillar when it comes to India. We have now a trade volume that surpasses $50 billion a year, goods and services combined. Now, when I was here last time, it was about 15 billion. So it's a huge and an enormous development. And I think the Chancellor brought 25 CEOs of small and medium sized, but also big companies, and everybody, thinks of how to invest in India and how to expand their business here. So that's certainly a very important element of our relationship.
What will you say are the
You wanted me to say 5 points.
5 points. Yes.
Let's do 3 and 4, and the 5th you can interrupt. So 3 is, I think, very importantly, and a new element is skilled labor migration. And I think the Chancellor has made a point of showing how interested we are in skilled labor, fair and legal migration from India to Germany. He had a long talk with the Prime Minister on it. That the Indian government is, with the migration agreement we have, very helpful. But also he talked to 8 young people who were about to leave for Germany. Young women who wanted to start a mechatronic vocational training period in Germany. Some guys who wanted to do their master program at German universities, nurses, caregivers, and so forth. So he had a wonderful exchange actually with young Indians, bright, ambitious, dedicated, committed, hardworking. So he was very, very impressed actually. And the 4th point, I would say, and that's, you hinted at the beginning of our conversation, is security and defense. So after long years of the relative calm, I would say, in the Indo-German defense cooperation, now we have geared up our cooperation. There is a lot of German defense production being interested in India as a business point, as a country that might be a very interesting client, but also as a good place to invest and to build and construct. And the most important part of this, I would say right now, are the submarines. Now we are not at the end yet, we are still in the negotiations, but I think what I can say is both sides are relatively confident that we'll come to a conclusion in the not too far future.
That will be a big step when you talk about tangibles like submarines being manufactured in India. Is how far do you see the day?
So it's clear that this thing is most of it will be produced in India. There is no doubt. It's a joint venture between the German TKMS and the MDL Mazagaon Naval Shipyard in Mumbai, and the distribution of work is very clearly set, and the overwhelming majority of parts will be produced here and also assembled here.
How fast do you think the ink will be put on the contract?
It's very difficult to say. They are in the midst of negotiations. I got the vibes during the Chancellor's and the Prime Minister's talk that we are, very confident that it might be in the not so far future. But I refrain to commit myself. These are difficult procedures. It's a hugely expensive undertaking. So let's wait and see how things go. But the Chancellor's visit brought certainly a very positive element to the.
Minor things like transit visas for Indians traveling via Germany.
So that's one of the deliverables, as it were. We will now in the coming weeks we will lift transit visa obligations for Indians traveling through Germany to third countries. For some countries there is no transit visa obligation, but for some, for example the UK, there is, and therefore I think we will open up for the 60 plus flights the Lufthansa Group has from India to Germany as an interesting hub to change planes in Frankfurt, Munich, Zurich. So we will see how quickly that is done, but I think it's a huge step forward so that travelers to the UK and other parts of the world can change planes in Germany without having an additional visa to ask for.
Germany always was apprehensive about sharing deeper defense technologies. Various reasons, because of India's ties with Russia, the dependence on technology on Russia. What has changed, what do you think there?
I think India has become over the years a more reliable, a stronger partner for us. We see that, in the geopolitical circumstances, we see India as a strategically hugely important partner. And I think that has to include, if you take your partner seriously, it has to include the areas of defense and security. And therefore, I think it reflects the depth and the engagement we have with India, the depth in our relations. It reflects this new chapter of, or is reflected in the new chapter of security and defense. And we'll see certainly in the years to come more of that.
You see, there is something we have been talking about in India for a very long time now. It's something called aspirational India. At one time, the kids of the richest used to go to study in Germany. Only the rich could go out for a holiday in Germany. Now the middle classes are going. The lower middle, through various support mechanisms, are going to study in Germany. How much do you think Germany is acknowledging this aspirational India?
So we do acknowledge it big time. It's good for us, it's great for us. We have 60,000 Indian students in Germany. German universities love Indian students. They are hardworking. They know what they want. They have a goal. They are very, very ambitious. So what we see is that German universities tend to, I mean, they're free in their acceptance of applications. They tend to be very generous with Indian applications. And we have a lot of huge success stories. We hope at the end of the day that at least for a couple of years, an Indian graduate of an engineering school of a technical university will stay in Germany and work there, contribute to the development of Germany and its business before maybe coming back to India. I mean, that's of course a complete, it's voluntarily and not binding. You can go to Germany and go back or elsewhere after graduating. But so the win-win situations for us would be if they stayed on. We have a generous immigration law, and we are very, very keen on having engineers or IT people from India who graduate in Germany. We have to say though, and this is also a very strong message, I keep telling my Indian friends, not all schools in Germany, particularly private universities, are up to the standard we wish them to have. And I think we see a group of Indians from the northwest mainly, who go to Germany on false information.
Yes.
And we see a group, it's a tiny group, it's not a big group, but in a situation which we don't want to have them and they don't want to have it either. So I would always say if you go through an agent, he has to have a couple of universities in his portfolio. No agents who have only one school in the portfolio. That's not a good agent. Don't trust them. Go for good and solid agents, and you'll find good universities with little fee, not private universities with big fee. I mean, they're good ones, I don't want to deny that, but there are some schools who charge a lot of money and don't deliver the quality you'd want to have.
But there is a problem. Usually it has been found that though Germany may be eventually left with this burden of illegal people emerging, entering Germany, or people brought in with false promises. But the fact is that the rules and the governance and the mechanisms here in India need to sharpen up. They need to, it's eventually you're letting people get duped here and eventually they'll end up in Germany or any other nation. So have you been in parley with the government of India?
Of course.
That this mechanism need to be made more stringent?
We speak to the Indian government all the time, and the Indian embassy in Berlin, a very, very good mission of Indian diplomacy, knows about this problem and has drawn our attention to the problem also. But at the end of the day, if people want to go elsewhere and they have a seemingly good offer in Germany, these Indians, you can't stop them also. It's very difficult to stop them. So what I'm saying is they don't get into Germany illegally, not at all. They have a valid student visa, but they are heavily indebted. They end up on, working illegally also on the black market in order to cover their debts.
Yes.
And that's something nobody wants, neither us nor them. And I think we have to, with this growing number of students going to Germany, I keep repeating my wish and my desire that every student who goes to Germany looks up the vast offer Germany has and then chooses and picks the appropriate university and doesn't fall for agents who lure them into something that there's only one school and that asks 10,000 euros a semester or something, which is a huge amount of money. So be careful before going. Choose your university and pick your university in a good way.
Indians are very interested in hearing you about this. I would like to tell us briefly on what kind of walls have been dismantled in easing this arrival of Indians. See, you have a crisis, you have an aging population.
Exactly.
You need Indian skills, but it is not a free for all.
Yeah. So I will tell you, since 50
what
years...
What kind of checks and balances and what kind of dismantling of walls?
Yeah. So I think you nailed it. I mean, the demographic development of Germany since 50 years is as such that the population is shrinking and you have an aging population. So, but our population is growing. Why is that? Because of migration, and that's a good thing per se. There is a problem with migration when it comes to illegal migration in Germany. There are, under false pretenses, people come as asylum seekers, and the current government is trying to get a grip on it, and they have to a certain extent. But at the same time, the current government is very interested in legal and fair migration. And with this migration agreement we have, and mobility agreement we have concluded with the Indian government, you have a very a very good cooperation with states and center here.
Okay.
And therefore I would say the Indian migration to Germany has been a huge success so far. You have 3 lakh Indians in Germany, which is not a big diaspora, but a growing one. And these 3 lakh people earn, average-wise, 20% more than the average German. You know, that's a huge success story. You know, so as everywhere else, Indians are the top performers in Germany, and therefore we are pretty interested in getting them. Now, I repeat, legally and fairly. So you need a job, you need a good qualification to come to Germany. But if that is provided, then you can really have a very good life. So
what kind of growth are you looking at in migration from India?
So
People who can
we
go
don't
to
have a ceiling. We don't have quotas or something. But I would say that, you know, if we do now 40 to 50,000 skilled labor visa a year all across India, all over India, there is an enormous room for improvement still. You know, I don't say the sky is the limit, but we can increase that big time.
Say 10%, 15%. Do you have some estimate? Because one has noticed that there has been a steady climb in this bandwidth.
So we grow 10-15% a year visa-wise. We grow skilled labor-wise. We have also 10%, 15% more students a year. So that's the growth rate. And so far, I think there is no concern. It's basically a positive thing.
Let's come to the elephant in the room. Chancellor Merz described recently that at a meeting with the ambassadors last year, that what we call the liberal world order is now under pressure from many sides, also from inside the political West. He said, without directly naming Donald Trump. Now, where is Germany? And for Germany, where does India figure in this realignment, repositioning?
So I'll tell you one thing. The Americans have been our closest allies for 80 years now. We have been looking up to America over decades. American soldiers were in Germany. It's a daily sight. You go through Germany, you see in parts of Germany American soldiers. I, in Bavaria, grew up with American soldiers in the street. So it is a friendship that is, you know, has grown over decades. And therefore, I would say, even under the current, clearly more difficult circumstances, we will try to keep this friendship at least partly alive. You know, we will not drop America as a friend. I don't see that coming. We will work with America, continue to work with America, and trying to, you know, sustain the level of friendship that is possible right now. And I think India is in a similar position. Now, of course, the partnership and alliance between India and the US was not as close as ours. Over the decades, you have seen the partnership between India and America closer and closer, growing closer and closer. You know,
Despite
America,
the 50% tariff?
but you know, before, you remember the US-India nuclear deal. I mean, the Americans really opened up to India in a big way, and therefore, I think my feeling is that India will not give up the US lightly. But, and that's also valid for Germany, we have to accept that there are new circumstances under which we have to work. And therefore, I think in this regard, India and Germany sit together and compare notes and see how we can do that.
Sure. In wake of what has happened in Venezuela and what is being proposed for Greenland.
Greenland is a big problem for us. I mean, there is no doubt. It's a NATO partner. The population of Greenland, the Prime Minister of Greenland has made it very clear that they don't want to be
800 years.
Yeah, and they don't want to be owned by the US. And you know, you have seen the statements coming out of Europe. So that's an item which is very difficult and tricky, and we'll have to work with the Americans to avoid any confrontation there. And that's going to happen, I hope, successfully.
On the Truth Social, President Trump posted a Wikipedia page declaring himself the acting president of Venezuela. How does a diplomat, in your view, that one moment?
Yeah. So when you look at Truth Social, there are a couple of things that he posted in the past that surprises you as a diplomat. I think you have to get used to a new style of communication Whether you should take everything so seriously, I doubt it by now. But it's certainly a new way of communicating diplomacy and international relations. I think it's not replicated across the board, it's unique in a way, but we have to learn to live with it.
You see, Germany also had a very deep old ties with China. Your trade is 8 times compared to India.
5.
5 times, okay. I stand corrected.
India is growing, so
India
it's
is
5
growing,
times.
so 5 times. Now, in a scenario like that, where you have suspicions about India vis-a-vis Russia, there is a bit of hesitation, and India has hesitation vis-a-vis China. It is significant that Chancellor came to India first. It is being read. Is it significant? Is it?
I think it is a clear statement also, that we see India as a partner that will, join the top business destinations for us, and therefore it was a clear decision by him to go first to India and then to China. He will go to China next month. So China, we have it's not always easy, our relationship with China. I wouldn't call it super difficult in many ways, but there is a partnership element to our relations with China when it comes to business, when it comes to climate, for example. I mean, there are ways and means where you can work very well with China, but there is also an element of competition and maybe even of rivalry when it comes to China. So we have to balance a very difficult partnership, which is way easier in India than in China. Because we want, to engage with China, we want to work with China, but there is also, red flags with China. So that's a challenge for my colleagues in Beijing and also Berlin. But I think at the end of the day, everybody understands China is an important country, and you have to engage with it in order to also make your point of view heard and seen.
See, for the last 40, 70 years, Germany hasn't flexed global muscle. It has been a very quiet, focused itself on growing and helping the world grow. In that scenario, how does Germany view the idea that the global waters may get dominated by US and China? Do you want to cede that space to these two?
I think, this is the sort of the G2 scenario.
Yes.
That's something which doesn't, doesn't have a big place in our thinking when it comes to the future of the world. Let's put it that way. We feel that the European Union should be one pole of the world, but India should be another one. I mean, it's certainly, it's rougher, it's harsher right now, but we should not reduce the world to 2 superpowers. We have to see where there is a different kind of power, where there is, you said flexing muscles that can have a different meaning. You can have economic muscles, soft power muscles, but also military muscles. So we have to find the right balance between all of them. And as you basically hinted at, Germany is now spending a lot of money for military. So we are spending between 3.5 and 5% of our GDP for our military, and that means we have to see the fact that you need good armed forces. You need a strong military. Same is valid for India. Also Indian military spending is going up for the same reasons, and that's why also our partnership in this defense and security area is so important.
Is the way the world has gone around in the last 6-7 months, do you think nations like Germany, who might have focused more on development, growth, might start thinking deeper as far as strengthening their defense forces and their defense strategies?
Yeah, I think that's certainly true. I mean, you see what the world is unruly. You see there's war in Europe. Who would have thought, there's a raging war in Europe, actually, with losses of hundreds every day. So we have to get that into our thinking. That the illusion under which we worked after the wall came down, that the history of the world, the end of history, as they call it, it turned out to be completely wrong. So we have to do that. But, we as a relatively small country from an Indian perspective, we have to think in alliances. And NATO is one, but the European Union is another one, where we are deeply anchored, and we feel that if we move forward, we will never move alone, but with our partners.
You see, the Cassandras are saying that there is a threat to NATO.
Yeah, but I mean, the Danish Prime Minister said NATO is dead if the US invades Greenland, and the NATO certainly has no ideas on what you do if NATO partners attack each other. There is no such thing. I would say, we are in early stages. I can't imagine a military conquest by the US of Greenland. That is so outlandish, I can't think about it. But we have to make clear what our position is. And when you read the leader's statement on Greenland, where Germany, Spain, France, Poland and others have joined, we have made our position crystal clear.
There is this great sense of overlap happening. You're reaching out, but on Ukraine, India is neutral, whereas Europe has a very strong position. On Russian oil, Europe has a position, India has its needs. How are you juggling that?
So I think we are not that far away from each other when we look at that war. I remember the foreign minister, the external affairs minister, saying that we are in deep disagreement with Russia on the war in Ukraine. And I think that was also reflected in the bilateral talks with the Prime Minister and the Chancellor. So India is not happy with what happens in Ukraine. Now, how it reacts to it is different from our side. So, as I said at the beginning, there is no
standing out of the global consensus.
The global consensus. So we have a very clear Western position on it. Yeah. Although I must say, the US also is a bit oscillating once in a while. But I think that's diplomacy, that you have to sit down with your friends and partners and try to figure out where you have a common basis. It is, in a way, I understand that Ukraine and the raging war that is going on there is more of a concern for Europeans than it is to Indians. This is far away from India, and you have your own problems to cope with. But I think what we both are, looking for is an international rules-based order that, has a principled stand on this kind of happenings. And that's why, bilateral visits like the visit we had in the last 2 days happen.
There is a lot of complementarity as far as relations between India and Germany are concerned. I will just go back a little back in time when you dancing on Natu Natu made you one of the favorite ambassadors as far as Gen Z in India is concerned.
Yeah, favorite, I don't know, but it was quite a hit.
I have not seen an ambassador being watched on various platforms, social media platforms, as much you were.
So I have to say that I had to be convinced. I was a little hesitant at the beginning. My social media team really worked hard on me. And as they get every time what they want, they also get that one. So I think with hindsight, I would say it was the right move. It is an exceptional move. You can't do that every second month.
No, but it was the right move. But how did you learn the moves?
So we practiced with a dancing teacher here in this garden. I didn't learn as quickly as my colleagues from the visa section. The 23-year-old wonderful colleagues who were completely enthusiastic, but we had a great team exercise, and then we went to Old Delhi and did this flash mob, and basically we had a good director, so it turned out to be a good
Does
move.
It help?
I think it's a good question. I think so. An ambassador is always somebody who puts a face to a nation. So if you do
with a stiff upper lip,
but also with a dance move once in a while, and therefore I think if you see that there is a country that is, as you said at the beginning, somehow stepping out of the ordinary diplomatic relation, that helps also. It helps. I think we wrote when we posted it. We said, who says Germany can't dance? And then the Prime Minister retweeted saying Germany can dance. He said, and that's I would say it's in a way a diplomatic success. And so today's diplomacy is much more than sitting at receptions and drinking a glass of wine and discussing global politics. You have to reach out to the people. And I have to admit, India makes it easy to reach out.
You're going to say it's not a tightrope?
I think in this country, so much.
Although you have been at postings which are tough.
Yeah, but this is so many things are easy in this country, and it's so warm and reaching out to us in such a wonderful way. So I thought, it was a risk in a way. I thought it was a risk. With hindsight, I would say it was a great
Will you do it again?
Yeah, so that many people ask me that. I think you can do that once and you can do other stuff also, but another dance,
Has any song caught your fancy in the last 3 years?
So I used to sing with friends, Indian friends, and my British ambassador friend. We sang, movie songs from the 50s and 60s, Hindi movie songs. I was trained and taught, but I have to go back and try to remember them. So
Okay, 3 years almost, more than 3 years now in
three
India.
and a half, yeah.
How has this cycle journey been?
Wonderful.
No, that's a nice thing. Usually ambassadors will always say.
Yeah, true, but it was
But
wonderful.
I would like to know that what are the pitfalls in India? Because that's perhaps is a lesson that the governments, the media and almost everybody should learn.
So social media can be also very harsh in India. I mean, you have to get used to the rudest comments on social media. But is that India specific? I wouldn't know. I think in Germany it's also very harsh. So unfortunately, people lose manners when it comes to social media. And that's true in Germany as it is here. So you have to get a little thick-skinned once in a while when you post something that, angers people. And, this is a country of 1.4 billion. You will not find everybody agreeing, This is a country of free speech. People express themselves and you have to live with that, even if it goes against you. Is it a pitfall? I'm not sure. But the moment you get out of your comfort zone, you are exposed to a 1.4 billion country where everybody has a strong opinion. Sometimes
Familiarity
even two,
is problematic, you are saying.
and therefore you have to get a bit.
But I'm very happy that you didn't mention bureaucracy as a major problem in India still. Has it changed, or is it still something needs to be done?
So you'd say the bureaucracy. I think that when you talk to our companies, sometimes they feel bureaucracy is still very heavy, and they are concerned about this quality control order problem. But I have found the government very receptive to these complaints. I have a fast-track institutionalized fast-track system where I talk to a secretary in the concerned ministry, and that's going very well. So I think the awareness of the shortcomings of investment here in India is very, very developed and is also tackled by many people.
Last question. That when you talk about India, what are the things, not in dealing with the government, are stopping India's story? What are the hurdles? A country like Germany, which has grown, what has Germany done which India is not doing? That's my last question.
I would say that when the Chancellor talks to the Indian young, people who want to move to Germany now, he says, the dedication and the open-mindedness and the ambition and the hard-working attitude he would like to see in Germany sometimes. He says, I'm so impressed with these young people. I wish my people in Germany had the same spirit one time. So I would say, if you talk to the people of India, I see a great future for this country in a way. It might take a little while. It's not as developed as it would love to be. But what you see in the last 15 years, you asked me at the beginning, what difference did I see in the last 15 years? That's an indication on where India is going. So I'm very optimistic.
Thank you very much, sir. May your optimism on India and Indo-German relationship get epidemic. And thank you very much. May you have another song, another Indian song, and I may make moves which will help both India and Germany become perhaps a balancing power in the world. Thank you very much, sir.
Hope so.
Thank you.